back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Education, the Teacher's Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back after what seems a decently long hiatus. This end of the school year stuff really throws wrenches into our availability. Not only are we both busy people, but it's end of the school year, and which means summer activities are springing up, and suddenly there's baseball practices, and there's just other things going on. So it's been a week and change, but that's okay because we're back to cover a very, very, very recent movie. We're talking about Late Night with the Devil. Just actually debuted in the United States about a month and a half ago. So, easily the newest movie we've talked about on the show. It's still in theaters in some places. And we are going to talk about it here with you today. So, Late Night with it took me a minute to get into the flow of how this movie was going.
Yeah, same. Like, only because when you had read, like, your 2 sentences about it, I thought that we were going to go into the homes of viewers.
Oh.
So, like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was waiting, like, to leave the set of the TV.
Gotcha. But now you see it as, like, broadcasting into the homes.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, this movie kicks off. I really had no idea what to expect. I'd seen the trailer. It really is more of a found footage film.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibe I get, is more found footage. And really, the movie kicks off like almost 10 minutes of this like black and white like prologue introducing our main character, telling us about his history. Jack Delroy is the main character's name, played by David Dastmalchian, who he's always been like that guy, just kind of a side like actor. You know, he's always been in the background of movies. He'd have a role, but he's one of those just very reliable character actors. So it's nice to see him get a chance to shine. But we really hear about his backstory. This movie takes place, the bulk of the film takes place Halloween night, 1977. And it all takes place like on the set and behind the scenes of Jack Delroy's like late night talk show, Night Owls, which is fictional. But it is set in a universe of reality because he's competing with The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which was a real show with a real host. So it is kind of fun to see this play on almost kind of like the historical fiction of you're going to watch things that actually were real, but this isn't. But yeah, this first few minutes is all set in this like black and white backstory of him getting started, him starting the show. We're just really being introduced to Jack Delroy, his wife Madeline, this like mysterious like celebrity cult that he's a part of called The Grove, which is kind of weird. And then, you know, but the whole thing's like voiceover, you know, like somebody is just catching us up to Jack Delroy's professional history up to this episode of the show.
It definitely was very much like watching the O.J. Simpson file or something like that. Like, all right, we've now got the backstory. Now let's get into what's going on now. Like,
because this movie,
I really liked that.
I wasn't. Yeah, when I said it took me a minute to get it. It's just because I didn't know what to expect, and so what it rolled out was here's the footage of that show. And we're like, oh, so it's a found footage movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Because everything in the trailer is like we're on set watching this as it's happening, which we kind of are in a way.
Yes.
And so we've got Delroy. It's Halloween night. It's also Sweeps Week, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to guess you probably don't understand what Sweeps Week is.
No.
Okay, good. I didn't want to assume that you didn't know, but Sweeps Week is really important, especially for like these late night talk shows of there's this exterior ratings board called the Nielsen, which what they do is they'll put like set top boxes into homes. They'll reach out to just common people like you and I, and they'll ask if they would like to be part of this research. So they connect a box to their TV, and it basically keeps track of what they watch over this piece of time. And so people just go about their normal viewing, information. They watch whatever they want, whenever they want. But this box is keeping track of all of the channel changes. Are you changing away from ads? What were those ads? Like Nielsen's keeping track of all this stuff. And then later it digests all that data. They've been doing this for decades. And this is what the TV studios get as like, we're going to peel back the onion. Here's the behind the scenes of what home viewers are actually watching.
This is what the people want to actually see.
This is what the people want to see. And so for these late night talk show hosts, it's their teacher evaluation process.
Okay.
Of like, okay, now I know you're watching. You're coming in to watch this week. I'm going to put my best foot forward, get everything out. I want to look as great as I can. So, so that's the case with Sweeps Week. It means way more to the TV studios than it ever does to people like you and I. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we don't even know that it's Sweeps Week. But if you pay attention, you do realize that this would be the strongest week of content.
Okay.
Like the biggest.
And he's got the best people on here.
Yeah, this would be the biggest stars, the best celebrities, like all of that jazz. Well, Jack Delroy has always, the entire 6-year run of his show, has always trailed Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show, which, to be fair, back in the 70s, everybody did. Everybody wanted to be the next Tonight Show. Everybody wanted to be the next Carson, and nobody was. He
knew that. He even made the comment, I know my parents are sitting at home, so proud, smiling, looking at the TV, watching Johnny Carson.
Exactly. He's aware of where he's at, but it's to just get that one, even one night, we beat Carson. It's just that feather in the cap of I did it. I could do it. So that's really what the buildup of this Halloween episode is. It's Monday, which is the first day of Sweeps Week. I was reading the trivia that they wanted to set the movie around Sweeps Week, and they wanted it on Halloween, and they wanted it in the 70s. So the only reason it's 1977 is because that was the only year in the 70s that Halloween was on a Monday.
Huh.
So, and they're okay, well, that kind of fits what we want to go with, so let's run with it.
Yeah.
And so we get this backstory. I know we're still kind of bopping all over the place. We get this backstory of, Delroy is pretty clean cut. He doesn't have any vices that are public. He doesn't have any negative press going on or whatever outside of this being a member of the Grove. But for all intents and purposes, this is built up of the California elite and powerful. Yeah. So it's not like he's the weirdo that's in this cult. They all are.
Right.
Which it's almost more of a testament to him of see, he did make it because he's in this group. We find out the backstory of his wife. She came down with cancer. It was terminal. She did pass away. And that caused him, he left the show. Yeah,
he had a mental breakdown. I would say
right,
they didn't say so. That, but and so it just kind of halted everything with Night Owls, and then it flashes forward a few years, and he returns. And
I think it was just 1 year later.
Okay, 1 year.
Yeah, but he was out of there for that year. They kept the show going, but then, like you said, he ultimately did come back. The highest rated episode of Night Owls prior to Jack leaving was the episode he brought his wife on, and it was almost like this public facing goodbye.
Yeah.
Because she's on oxygen. She's bald. She's at the end of her battle.
Yeah.
And they share a moment, and people just ate it up. Mm-hmm. And it's it was it was a double-edged sword, because it was the best episode Jack had ever had, but it wasn't Jack's episode.
Right. It was hers.
And so it's like the best part of his professional life was it the worst part of his personal life. Mm-hmm. And so I can understand him leaving the show of like, I cannot put myself through more personal trauma just for my professional gain. And so he does come back a year later, and he's been back a little bit, but like this wasn't his first night back. And we're just doing all this as a preface to what we're going to be seeing here.
Yes.
Because really, once we get back into the show, it's odd because there's a lot going on, but at the same time, there's not much going on.
Right.
If I were watching this episode on TV, despite the interest in the subject area, I probably would have switched away. Like,
yes,
it just.
But if I were there in theater, I probably would have peed myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like I'm watching it, and like towards the end, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have still been there. Like I would have been scared to death.
Yeah, there was some really cool things that the directors kind of tricked us with, and we'll get into that. So here we are, Halloween night, 1977. They kick off a sweeps week, and Jack is leaning into Halloween for sure. He has an entire like spooky themed, occult themed horror episode. And he's got 3 guests he's bringing onto the show. He's bringing on, 4, supposedly 4. They end up not bringing the 4th one on. But he's going to bring on like a psychic. He's going to bring on a person who debunks that kind of science, quote unquote science. So you have someone that used to be a magician and he now is against the psychic phenomena. He's bringing on an author and with one of her subjects. And then he's also bringing on like, it's like a fortune teller, but she we never see her. They just talk about her. And so I'm going to step back and let you kind of take over here about, especially like Christo.
Yeah. So Christo is our median, and he gets on, and he kind of, honestly, at first it is like a joke. Like he's like, "Oh, is there anyone with this name or similar?" And so some guy's like, "Yeah, I've got a similar name. It's like 4 letters off," and he's like, "Do you know this person?" And it's all just like, all right, this is I now see how people debunk this stuff. Like,
do you believe in this stuff?
I don't.
I don't either. I've read enough and seen enough about basically what Christo does really poorly.
Yeah,
is how these people operate.
Yeah,
they go off real quick cues, and that's what they do. They stay basically super broad in their questioning. Mm-hmm. And then start to filter in when they've got somebody on the hook.
Yes.
And let them reveal more information than they're asking for.
Yeah. Now, am I saying I never want to get my fortune told, or like I think it'd be cool to see a median just to see, but I don't believe in that stuff. It would literally just be the experience. I think.
You'd be completely wasting your money then. And to be fair, like you would be the absolute worst client for somebody like this because these people, even though they're performers.
Right.
They know they're a hack, but they take advantage of people who do believe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are a lot of them that really they feel they're providing that closure. Mm-hmm. Which is fine. A lot could be said. There's a lot of industries that capitalize on death for that same reason. Like, and not to throw like funeral homes under the bus, but that type of thing of like, this is a corpse. It's going to go in the ground. A box is fine, but then they're like, but this is your and beloved.
We also need to make it, look good. And
it's like, and I get it. I do, because it's a living. But it's like, do I need an $8,000 box?
But you do, if you love this person.
I know. And so, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be the worst at that. Like Can I bring the box?
Jenny, you're getting the Amazon box that the pool table came in. Like, you'll be fine.
Is there a permit somewhere where I can just dig my own hole?
Yeah.
So we live right next door to the cemetery.
Exactly.
I go out some night. They're not even going to notice.
And so then a little time passes. They're discussing things, and Christo is like starts getting this intense pain, and he's like, "I'm looking for someone named Minnie."
Right.
Like, who knows Minnie?
Well, you really get the feel too that like this is beyond Christo's ability.
Yeah. Yeah, like
because he did have this conversation with this mother and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like he finally got someone on the hook. I
forgot about that.
Yeah, like you said, the first guy he was talking to, and this guy wasn't really biting. He was more there for the jokes, but he did hook this mother and daughter that her son had died and he had committed suicide. It's like they really he went down this path.
Yeah,
and then as he's about to shut down his segment, it's like his body just starts convulsing, and it's like something took over him.
Yeah,
which is not, and even the look on his face was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Someone claim this energy,
right? Please, because I was waiting for him to explode, honestly.
And he's like, Minnie is looking for a man who's like married. He's got a wedding ring.
Yeah, he's not married
yet. And just going on and on. And so some time passes, and we now have met. What's Carmichael?
Yeah, well, Jack revealed that Minnie was the private nickname for Madeline.
Yes.
Like he didn't do. Yeah, he revealed that to Christo as we all stand there seeing them wearing a wedding ring, knowing he's not married. So it's like on the surface, all that is like all directed at Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Which the look on Jack's face was kind of similar to Christo's. Like, I wasn't asking for this. This has gone. Yeah. This is heavy. This is way heavy. But then, then we bring on Carmichael Haig. Yeah, this former magician.
Yeah, he's very skeptical. Like, he's always carrying around like $500,000 check. Like, if you can make me believe in this stuff, then I'll pay you. And he's saying that Christo is just being dramatic and all of this stuff. Well, finally we get to where Christo gets so sick that he's just projectile vomiting this
just black
tarry liquid all over.
Yeah.
So we cut to commercial break. He's rushed to the hospital, and this is where we introduce our third act.
Which this is still common today. I don't know how much late night talk shows you watch. I don't watch many, but I have watched enough to know that usually when you bring a guest on, your first guest stays on set the rest of the night. So the only, like, they bring Christo on, well, then, like you said, he had to go to the hospital. So this is why Carmichael is still on stage the rest of the show. Mm-hmm. He was the second guest. He was the skeptic. He's like, this is all fake, and he just starts debunking, like, this is how the medium stuff works. He doesn't know anything. He even went up to this mother and daughter and was like, we also get a little, I'm kind of sidetracking here. When they do cut to commercial, we get to see in black and white what's going on while the home audience is at commercial. Yes. So we see Jack getting his makeup touched up. We see Jack very concerned with the whole, like, I don't know where he got this Minnie information from because nobody knew it. We see Carmichael talking to this mother and daughter about, because they were all on board, like, absolutely. And he's like, so Carmichael's, he's poking holes in that all over the place. Like, did you talk to anybody before the show? And they're like, yeah, a lady interviewed us in the lobby. It was the same lady that came out and helped Christo. We're like, okay, well, they've been had and didn't know it. Mm-hmm. So Carmichael's still way like, nope, I'm not into this at all. Come back from commercial, and then this is where we bring out June and Lily.
Yes, and Lily is carrying a lot of baggage with her, as she is the only person that survived a mass suicide in the satanic church.
Yeah, they were all worshiping the demon Abraxas.
Yeah, and then it just like went up in flames, and she's the only one that lasted. And she's kind of freaky. Like, she's just one of those, a pretty girl, but her hair is down in her face, and we kind of get little glimpses of her, like,
she's creepy.
Yeah, like this girl is saying creepy to Jack, like, "But aren't I already pretty?" And it sounds just like how Madeline, his wife, did, and things. Right. And so he's just kind of thrown off. We also find out that Christo died at the hospital.
Yeah. Jack has a really interesting relationship with like his producer.
Yes.
This kind of like longer haired hippie-ish looking guy backstage. Pretty much he and Jack work together and everybody else is kind of extra. We've got Gus, who's like the MC of the night. Yeah. They got a house band, they got cameramen or whatever, but it's Jack's show, and Jack and his producer communicate. And Jack, even though he loves working with Gus, he realizes that Gus is far more moral and ethical than Jack is. Even though Jack's not a bad guy, he's still on a ratings lifeline.
I was going to say, he's got that celebrity life. Like, we want to get the best.
Yeah. And so when they find out that Christo had died on the way to the hospital, they just couldn't stop the internal hemorrhaging. That, again, we saw come out of nowhere. That Jack's basically like, nobody finds out. Mm-hmm. Gus could not know. Like, because he knows basically as soon as things start to turn sour, Gus is out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that to happen. So, but yeah, so we've got, Lily's June's written a book. Lily's the subject of the book. Lily is working really hard to make sure she's always staring into the right camera. Mm-hmm. And it's really, it's creepy. Like, she is a pretty girl, but it's creepy.
Yeah.
She's talking to Jack. You could tell she's got issues.
Yes.
June is all about, like, let me just talk up the book, and Jack is like, well,
Jack's like, let's get the demon.
Because he's got every angle.
Yeah.
Because he's like, it's ratings season.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would have gone into a little more detail about the relationship between June and Jack, because I got the feeling there was a little something extra there than just
right. Yes,
they never go into it.
Right.
Lily reveals some stuff.
Yeah, but they're friendly. They're both attractive people. But
really, at its core, Carmichael seems to be the person who subconsciously keeps pushing Jack.
Yeah.
Because Jack's there, he's got this occult themed show. Meanwhile, he's got like the nation's leading skeptic on set, basically saying everything that's going wrong. Everything. And so when June's talking it up, Carmichael's like, you're full of it. This is all fake. It's all fake. It's all a show. To where Jack's like, well, fine, we got to prove it now. And let's go to commercial break. And when we come back, we'll see if we can't conjure the demon. Which... Yep. To be honest, if I'm watching the show from home and I hear that, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm watching this.
Yeah.
Cut back. During commercial, June is very upset.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot do this. Like, we've made so much progress with Lily. We cannot do this. Jack's just like, we got to do it. Like, this is your chance. Like, you also have an opportunity to benefit from this, because it's your book. Like, you really get a shine here. We're back from commercial break, and we're right back where we were. June is talking to Lily. Lily is like strapped down to a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to talk to Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah. That is like the demon inside of her. So she pulls out the demon. And Lily is now possessed. And just, it's that typical possession. Like, you hear all the bones cracking.
Yeah, you're real twitchy. Yeah, your face has got lesions on it. Yeah. Your eyes are all bloodshot and buggy.
And she just, like, is really, like, pointing everything wrong that everyone on this set has done.
Yeah, like blowing it all, like airing everybody's laundry.
Like talking about how Jack and June went up the hill.
Yeah.
To sleep with each other.
I found it funny that because this is supposedly live, the first time she said she dropped an F-bomb, the crowd gasps.
Yeah.
But then she says it again and they bleep it out, like they censor it. So it's just the dynamics of this are so cool that like as you're watching it, you forget that there's a studio audience. So hearing them gasp and react is fun. You forget that there's people backstage controlling the broadcast. So being surprised by the first swear word, but then ready to bleep out the second one, it was a really fun, creative choice to remind us all that, okay, we are actually watching a TV show, not a movie. We're watching a TV show.
And Lily brings up like Jack, like killing his wife.
Yeah.
And doing that, and she just brings up a lot of really uncomfortable things.
Just very specific things about Jack. About we've met before, and when Under the Tall Trees, which if you weren't paying attention to the opening segment, like she's basically drawing reference to, hey, you know that cult where you guys all go out into the woods and conjure? Guess who's been there? Me. And so, and then we end it like this. We get like the looking through her hair and like you said, the twitchiness or whatever. We get a lot of, she actually levitates.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, levitates. Electricity's kind of going nuts. So let's cut, head to commercial. So we do. Again, backstage, Carmichael is all over Jack. Like this is all just bonkers. Like none of this is real.
This is all a hoax.
Yeah, it's like special effects. You guys were doing this with the lights and the electricity, all of this jazz.
And he's even like, I can do it too.
Yeah,
like, I'll
exactly.
do the same thing.
Yeah, so basically Jack and Carmichael are in essence arguing with, or not Jack, June and Carmichael with Jack right in the middle. But yeah, he's basically like, June, everything you've just done, I could do. Jack, give me a chance to do this. To where Jack's just like, oh, okay, like whatever.
And then we're like, do we have a volunteer? All right, good. Hey, Gus, step on up.
Yeah, I know.
Gus
so
is like, what?
Exactly. So we come back from commercial, and we're basically the same scene we just saw with June and Lily. We're basically seeing with Carmichael and Gus.
Yeah.
To which Carmichael's talking to Gus. Gus is listening. And, he's just like, are you aware that you're hypnotized now? That you're under? And he's like, no. And he gets up and takes his jacket off, starts to undo, reveals that he's afraid of worms. And then, like, he has, like, this cut on, I cut myself shaving. But then, like, peels that back and it's just worms just gushing out of his neck. Undoes his shirt, like, reaches down to his belly, just tears his belly open. Just hundreds of worms slopping out of there. Then what I thought was really cool, like looks up, is like, then this giant worm just busts out of his eye socket. His head it doesn't explode, it just splits to make room for this giant worm. Jack is freaking, the audience is freaking, everybody is freaking out because honestly, I'm watching this and I'm like, there's a demon in the house. Like even this is out of Carmichael's range because Carmichael tries to wake him up. When I snap, my fingers will come too. Snap, nothing. And then he really panics. And then...
Yeah, it was here at this point where I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this demon, like, has come out of Lily and is now like, huh.
By the way, this movie's an hour and a half long. We're now, like, literally, there's 20 minutes left in the movie.
Yeah.
25 minutes left in the movie. So most of the movie is this built up kind of, and then this is where, the only reason I know is this is where my wife and I turned it off the other night because we were just getting tired. We turned it off. We're like, we got to finish that. I finished it this morning and I told her, I'm like, we got to finish that movie. Like it goes bonkers over this last half hour. Then we come back and Carmichael had hypnotized everybody.
Yeah, and he's like...
Including the home audience.
Like, let's just play it back.
Yeah.
See what you see.
Which was fun because in essence, it's that like I just mentioned with the reminding us that the audience is there, reminding us that the backstage crew is there. This was reminding us that we're watching the show. We're not watching a movie. We're watching the show. To where by doing this, it's like the directors are saying, we hypnotized you as well. So it was fun. It was like, almost like audience participation in a way.
Yeah. They played back the tape. I mean, and it just shows like Gus like trying to peel his belly open.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I mean, it's just
Carmichael's talking way more in this scenes than we did see him doing. Yes. So it's like, and he did. And then, Carmichael asks the audience, did anybody not see, or Jack did, anybody not see the worms? There's a couple people like, yeah, almost like I didn't get hypnotized. I saw live what the footage showed. So Carmichael's super proud of himself now.
I mean, he was the best that there was.
Yeah. And he's basically like, I told you, it's all a joke.
Yep. And so Lily is like, well, if the TV doesn't lie, let's show our clip.
Yeah. And which June is like, don't do it.
No.
Because June knows it was real.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. Let's not show it. To which Jack's like, we've got to bring out our fourth guest. And we really think he's leaning towards giving June what she wants. It's time for our fourth guest, like Miss Cleo or whatever her name is. But I think we should probably reschedule her for another time and watch this footage. Which was like, oh, good, here we go. And so by replaying this footage, it's like almost like doubled the power of the demon. And so they play back this footage, and this is the first time they've seen the footage. Everything had been live, to where then Jack's like, wait a second. Wait, like, did you guys see that? Which Carmichael's like, of course not.
Yeah, slow down.
So they slow down the footage to like fractions of a frame.
Yeah.
Now, as a person who edits these videos for the podcast, a frame is 1/24th of a second. That's not very long at all. That's how movies work. That's why flip books are effective.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just watching a series of images played back at 1/24th of a second. 24 pictures cover 1 second of footage. So you can imagine how much footage there is to cover an hour and a half movie. But they're slowing it down to fractions of a frame. And in one of them, we see like the ghostly presence of Madeline standing over Jack with her hand on his shoulder.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. And Carmichael's like, you guys have put all this together. Yeah. Like, this is a hoax.
Right.
You guys did all of this. And this is where it hits the fan. Like, this part, I'm not going to lie. This part was kind of cheesy to me.
It was.
Because I agree. It's like lightning comes from
it was still fun.
But... Yeah, it was. But I really, really enjoyed the movie. And I'm not saying that this ruined it, because it didn't. But
I get you, though.
It's so cheesy.
Yeah. Well, because everything we've seen up to this point has been, like, human interaction.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, even though the possession was like, okay, yeah, of course it looks like every other possessed little girl we've seen, when they play back the footage and it's still there, Carmichael's like, oh, like, I don't believe it. But then, we get Abraxas.
Like, a bolt of lightning comes down and attaches to Madeline, and then like a TV connects to her other side.
Yeah, she's like levitating with like lightning connected to the set, basically.
Yeah, and she like tosses Jack away. Yeah. I don't remember how she kills Gus, but she kills him.
She levitates and like her head splits open. And while what's coming out is obviously demonic, but it's still like at like a TV frequency.
Yeah.
It's like the power that she's getting is coming from the electronics on set, to where like this split is very digital looking, not in a like digital versus analog, but just it's got wavy line. It's kind of cool, but she's glowing. She's got this bright light. like you said, she throws Jack. Gus stands up. She just like twists his head around.
Yes.
And he falls through the table sitting in front of him. Because Gus gets up and he's
Gus is like he's got
a cross and he's trying to talk her down. She kills him. Then June grabs her necklace cross and she picks June up by the necklace, basically choking her to a point where she eventually like splits her neck open with this chain. Carmichael gets up, reaches into his pocket, and takes out the check and offers it to her. like you've convinced me. Here's your money. She just burns that check in his hands and then proceeds to cook him from the inside. Just burning Carmichael alive from the inside. He just starts to melt, and his head really gets smaller because he's just melting and burning. The producer grabs Jack. We got to get out of here, Jack. Like Jack's just watching this whole thing.
Yeah.
The studio audience is running off. Like everybody is fleeing for their lives as Lily is just levitating as Abraxas. It's like, yep, she's still got a demon in her. And I really blame Carmichael for everything in this movie. Like Carmichael's been that catalyst.
He's that kid that pushes everyone else, and then everyone else gets in trouble, but he's the one that started it.
And so then we cut to a really odd ending. It was fine. The ending was fine, but it really showcased kind of what Jack was dealing with.
Yeah.
So it cuts to just this kind of nightmare show. He's still like present day Jack, but he's on old sets. Like old episodes of his show are happening around him, but he is still like Halloween episode 1977 Jack. So he's on set. Gus is, he comes out and Gus is like, or he goes, how did I get here? Like he knows he's not in the right reality.
Yeah.
To which Gus is still alive. And he's like, the same way you always do, Jack. You drive down Maine and whatever. It cuts to another episode where we saw a flashback of this earlier. Like he's on like a caveman set with an actress. Yeah. And he just like cusses her out and storms off stage. Cut to another one where there's like a hypnosis wheel spinning and Gus is with an older lady that's like, remember to it's just all of these like clips of old shows, and Jack's like, this is not where I belong. And so he's reliving these moments, and he reveals that, okay, Lily earlier, while possessed, had mentioned that, I've seen you under the trees. And so we get this weird, like, Jack is now like in the grove. He's surrounded by people in costume, and they're basically like, welcome to the fold, Jack. Long story short, we basically find out that while in the grove, Jack he wanted success. Basically, he sold a soul to the devil. Yeah. Long story short, but his soul ended up being Lily, or not Lily, Madeline.
Yeah.
And so her getting cancer and dying was the price he paid for the success he was having. Even so, the success he was having still put him at number 2. Like, he was still not the top one. To which then he's like bedside with Madeline as she's just like, there's only one thing left to do, Jack. Like, I'm dying. You need to kill me. You need to finish me off. There's a dagger on the table. Just do it. And so he does. He takes it, and while he's crying, he stabs her in the abdomen, ending her life. Flash, like, boom, lights flicker or whatever. He's on set, and he had just killed Lily.
Yeah.
Everything else that happened still happened, though. June's dead. Carmichael's burnt. Gus's head's been turned around. Like, all of that was real, and this was Jack taking down the demon by killing Lily. And he's standing over the bodies of all these people. We hear police sirens, and that's the movie. Like, it cuts out, and end of transmission, and the end of the movie.
Yeah. I liked this movie. I liked how I am a huge documentary person. Okay. Like I love watching I don't care if it's fake or real, like the Anna Nicole Smith, like the one created about her. I love it. OJ Simpson's. Right. I love that stuff. So right. I really liked the documentary feel that it started up with.
Yeah, I like that intro, and as well as then they really kind of, even though it wasn't in real time, because obviously the movie was an hour and a half and the episode of the show was not going to be, it was still kind of fun how they kept us on set the entire time. Yes. Like we got to see what was going on behind the scenes. They did a great job of differentiating when we were alive and when we were at commercials. It was just, I really like this as well. What would you grade it then?
I'm going to give this an A because honestly, aside from like the voltage that Lily got at the end, I loved all the special effects were great. Yeah. I'm going to give it an A.
That's fair. I'm going to give it an A as well. I really like this movie. We've watched movies that are much slower. This does feel slow, but at no point do you feel bored.
Yeah, no, because even when it's slow, like there's still bickering going on.
Yeah, and, like they pace it well. They introduce a new guest at a time when we're ready to see something new because all right, we've seen enough of Christo, and then they get rid of him right when we need him to, like bring in Carmichael. Yeah. When we're tired of hearing Carmichael talk about how all this is fake. Okay, well let's bring out our next guy. Like they paced it really, really well to where I wasn't tired of any particular segment because they were evolving to the next bit on time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, A's for both of us. Good. Yeah, I really like this movie.
Yeah, it was good.
It scored really well on the tomato meter as well, like 97% of critics really liked it. And it's nice because horror, it's easy to make. And because it's easy to make, you see a lot. Yeah. It's hard to come up with new ideas. Mm-hmm. And so this, I felt, was a pretty good new idea. It's a found footage film, but it's not done in the same way of like, we found this videotape in the woods or something like that. Yeah. It's like, this is what you're going to see is the Halloween episode of 1977. It's almost like you'd see the same thing kind of thing on YouTube or, mm-hmm. So I hope this does really well because it really, really was a nice, tight film. So I really liked it. All right. That brings us to our next piece, which is what does Courtney want to watch?
Yes, and I'm stuck between two movies. So it's kind of funny what you just said leans towards one. Okay. So, and they're both like pretty different. Like I've got a 1999 movie and I've got a movie that came out on my birthday last year.
Okay. What's the 1999 movie?
The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay.
You're like, found this video in the woods.
Right.
Like,
well, I almost...
I wasn't... that's funny.
Well, I wasn't saying that because... There was a lot of... I know you haven't seen Blair Witch. There was a lot of this movie that reminded me of Blair Witch. Okay. Because the beginning of Blair Witch has this long documentary feel. The whole movie is the whole movie's found footage of a documentary.
Yeah.
So the beginning of Blair Witch has this set the story documentary feel to it. We're interviewing townspeople. Like we're really setting the stage for what we're going to go explore. Because if you don't have the backstory of a documentary, then there's no point in the documentary.
Right.
You just have a bunch of people looking for something. And so there was a lot of Blair Witch in this film. I could see that whole let's introduce the backstory as quickly as we can so we can get to the meat and potatoes. So, all right, Blair Witch Project. And what was your other option?
Nefarious. I think it's Nefarious. That's how I would pronounce it, I guess.
Okay. A independent Christian horror film. Oh, a Christian horror film. Okay.
I think it's because there's like a possession.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
But when I was looking at them, like things that popped up with this, like if you like this one, you'll also like Where Evil Lurks and things like that. And I'm like, we did like that one.
Yeah, we did. So
I'm struggling.
Oh, man.
On what to pick.
Well, how much time do you have in the next week? Because Nefarious is 97 minutes. Blair Witch is 81.
Yeah, my schedule's pretty open this week.
Your call.
Okay. Let's do the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
Yeah. We just watched like a demonic possession, so let's watch Blair Witch Project.
Well, Blair Witch will also check a box off of our scratch off poster.
Okay.
So we double dip there. That's fine. All right. Blair Witch Project. I'm going to give you tips for this one. Pay attention to the opening documentary parts.
Okay.
Okay. I saw Blair Witch in the theater. This movie was an absolute phenomenon.
I've only heard great things about it.
The marketing of this movie at the time that this movie came out could not have been any more perfect. Blair Witch came out about we'll call it the dawn of the public internet. We're looking at an internet where people still are figuring out what the internet's going to be used for.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blair Witch Project features 3 actors that no one had heard of. They'd not been in anything before. And the way that they put together the marketing campaign for this, they created a website for it. And all of the posters were like missing person posters.
Oh.
Nobody knew who these actors were. So they they really, really sold this movie as, do you know where these people are? Like, we have footage of, it was lightning in a bottle. We have footage that they have filmed. They are missing. We don't know where they are. If you had gone to the website at the time, it was just nothing but last seen at, all of this reported stuff. There was no GPS. There really wasn't any, there were no smartphones. Like, it was just a matter of, oh my gosh, these people really died. Like, nobody knows where they are. It's completely different if you have Tom Cruise in the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
But this is like, I don't know who these people are. And so it took the world by storm. When this movie came out, it became the most profitable independent film of all time at that time. I saw this in theaters. I was living in Chicago when it came out, and it was playing at if I remember correctly, the Three Penny Cinema in Chicago. And a friend of mine and I were like, hey, let's go catch the Blair Witch Project. So we head towards the theater, and we're talking Chicago. These aren't small blocks. Yeah. We get there, and the line from the theater is, I'm not kidding, wrapped 2 or 3 blocks down. There were like 3 showings that night. So we pull up to the stop sign, and we holler out to somebody in line, and we're like, hey, is this the 7:00 show? And they're like, these people were lined up at like 5:30 for the 11:00 show.
Oh, it's like Black Friday.
Oh, it was insane. I finally saw it a few weeks later in Rockford, Illinois. I was, at this point, it was like, this is the scariest movie ever made. It's going to terrify you. I was so ready to be scared that I hated the movie.
Oh, no.
Hated the movie.
Almost like
I'm not done.
Skinamarink.
I'm not done.
Okay.
No, Skinamarink pales. This at least has a story. Hated the movie. Because I was like, we left, the person I went, this was her second time seeing it. She's like, what'd you think? And I'm like, I was bored. What do you mean you were bored? This is scary. And I'm like, it was dumb. I'm not kidding. This was the year it came out. Keep in mind, it's 2024 right now. Hair's still on the back of my neck standing up. We're driving from the theater through the woods outside of Rockford just because we were headed back to where we were going. And we're talking about the movie, and I'm saying how bad it was. I just didn't get it or whatever. And then the reason I say pay attention to the opening documentary stuff is the person I was with started explaining the stuff that I had just glossed over. Because I'm like, nothing scary happens early. Like, this is boring. Let's get to the scary. When she connected the dots for me, Last Kiss by Pearl Jam was playing on the radio. It was like core memory. Core memory factors in. Like, it was just talking about it became at that time the scariest movie I'd ever seen, because it all tied together, and like my chest got heavy, like hair on the back. I mean, it just terrified me 15 minutes after the movie was over.
Yeah.
So don't skip out on pay attention to the documentary. Yeah. And again, I didn't give anything away by it, because obviously I didn't tell you anything.
Right.
But you definitely pay attention to what's going on as it's going. This movie can be streamed for free on Plex as well as Freevee. So if you have not seen the Blair Witch Project and would like to figure out what all the fuss is about, you can catch it there. Does the movie hold up? This is not a movie. Like I haven't seen this movie since it came out.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing it again. But it's definitely one, kind of like Sixth Sense on the third watch.
Mm-hmm.
You watch it once, you're like, oh, you watch it twice to see if you could have found it. But by then you're like, it's a good movie, but the reveal is over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to have very different reactions to it, because I have seen it and you have not.
Okay.
That doesn't take anything away from the film, but it's just we're at different viewing stages of the film. I already know what's going to happen, so it's not going to affect me as much. But this might be one that I don't know if I might talk Ellen. I might see if I can talk Ellen to watch it. Yeah, watch it with the lights off. Yeah, you definitely want it with the lights off. So, and it's not. I'll just tell you, it's not gory.
Okay.
It's not. Try to get Casey to watch it with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. And just be like, no, it's not gory. Just see what's going on. I'd like to see.
Are there a lot of jump scares? Because I will need to just let him know. Like, don't tell me where they're at.
No, I won't. There are, but it's more. You will get a lot more out of this film if you put yourself in their shoes, right?
Okay.
So there's more situational jump scares. You're not going to get, like, to my remembrance, you're not going to get like a cat jumping out of a closet just to get a scare. You know, like there's not that level, but there's it's fun. It's a fun movie. I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've seen it. So, and you'll definitely see the similarities between like the opening documentary into this, but it's all filmed, and we could talk more next week. Obviously, I don't want to reveal everything, but we could talk more about like how they made the movie and why it was effective as it is. So, but yeah, I like it. Love the choice. Next week, we will be back to watch the original Blair Witch Project. Social media wise, you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a Letterboxd account that I have still not updated since last time I told you I haven't updated it. So if you want to look, maybe I have. I think I have actually. But yeah, check us out there if you haven't. Otherwise, for another episode of Education, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week with Blair Witch Project.
Bye.